The Rambo series finally comes to an end with Rambo Last Blood. Let's take a look. Hey guys, my name is Brandon, aka the Brando Critic, and today I'm going to tell you if Rambo Last Blood is worth a watch today. Now before I give you my personal thoughts, just a quick little rundown of the story. So in Rambo Last Blood, we have John Rambo, played again by Sylvester Stallone, and he is now living back home in Arizona with his stepdaughter Gabrielle and her grandmother Maria. After Gabrielle takes a quick trip down to Mexico to find her biological father, she's kidnapped and sold into an underground sex ring operation. And just like Taken, Rambo vows revenge against the drug cartel who took Gabrielle. And that's about it. The story is very, very simplistic, but what's new? So is Rambo Last Blood worth a watch today? Well, if you're a fan of the Rambo franchise, then yes, definitely. But if you're squeamish, and you don't like blood, and you don't like guts, and you don't like hardcore violence, then I'd say probably stay away. Because this movie, like the last one, there are some scenes that are extremely hard to watch. But we'll get into that in a second. This movie, I think the perfect way to explain it is if you put the plot from Taken, the finale of The Equalizer, and the look and the feel and the tone of Logan, put in a blender, you get Rambo Last Blood. Because surprisingly, Rambo Last Blood doesn't really feel like a Rambo movie. Because we've had so many other Rambo movies, we now associate the character with this over-the-top action and blood and guts and violence. And while that's in here, this definitely feels more like a First Blood sequel. This movie really dives into the character of John Rambo more than any other Rambo movie other than the first one. When I say any other Rambo movie during this review, just know that I mean the sequels. Because unfortunately, Last Blood is not as good as First Blood. But that's okay, because First Blood is such a great movie. No other film in the series can top that. However, Last Blood gets the closest to doing that out of all the other Rambo sequels. And again, this is just my opinion, but I found myself really connecting with John Rambo as a character more than any other Rambo sequel. And like I've said many, many times, if you get invested into the character, you get invested into the story. And this movie had me intrigued throughout the entire thing. And just hearing Rambo speak at the beginning of the movie about how black a man's heart can be, you can just see in his eyes all the pain and suffering that this man has had to endure over his life. So right away, I would say that Rambo Last Blood puts the characters and the story above the action, which, again, First Blood did that. And I think that's why I enjoyed this movie a lot more than the other Rambo sequels. And this film has probably the best villain since the original movie. Now, with First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, and Rambo 4, the villains were just a group of people that didn't really have any connection to Rambo, but Rambo was just kind of strung in there via circumstances. Either it was a war, a mission, or something along those lines. But in this movie, it's a personal connection again. And so in this movie, you have the drug cartel led by the Martinez brothers. And of course, they're not as, compelling as the sheriff in the first movie, because Rambo doesn't meet the Martinez brothers until like maybe halfway through the movie. But regardless, there is that connection there. And there is that hatred there. And again, like the fourth movie, you see these people do some absolutely horrible things, and some of it, a lot of it, is really hard to watch. Because they do, and I'm not gonna spoil it, they do some terrible things. And I got a little squeamish in this movie. I actually had to go like, oh. So just be wary of that. But they serve their purpose in the movie. You hate these guys with a passion. Therefore, when the action scenes do come and it's time for revenge against these guys, you really want Rambo to f them up. I mean, like, these guys are just bottom of the barrel, terrible people. And then we get to the violence. Now, it's not as violent as Rambo or Rambo 4. Let's just call it Rambo 4. It is not as violent as that because that movie is just a constant parade of just carnage and bloodshed, just blood and guts just filling the screens. But in Rambo Last Blood, whenever a kill comes, you feel it. It feels heavy. Like, you feel the bones break, you feel the knife go through the skin, you feel the bullets just shatter bodies, you feel it. And while it's not just kill, 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 it's kill, boom. It hits you 110%. It hurts. And because you're invested in the characters, you're invested in the story, and you hate the villain, each kill has all the more emotional weight behind it, which makes it feel even more intense. Now, the last thing I'll have to say about this movie is that it is the end of a franchise. However, because this is the end of the franchise, you would hope that you'd get a happy ending. Well, this goes back to First Blood. And in First Blood, it's about a character with PTSD not being able to cope with the Vietnam War. This movie goes back to those roots. It's not about Rambo going in there and saving the day. No, this is a character that has just been going through so much pain in his life, and it just does not stop. It goes back to a tragedy. And now with this franchise ending on a tragic note, it gives you a bit of a bittersweet taste in your mouth. So don't expect to be going into this movie and just feeling so triumphant. It is a Rambo movie, and it harkens back to First Blood and the story in that about a PTSD man just struggling. You know, this movie is a struggle, it's a tragedy, but at the same time, it was intriguing and it was entertaining. I don't know if I'm gonna see this movie again for a while because it is quite a bit to get through, but for the ending of this franchise, I think that this was the right route to take. I'm gonna give Rambo Last Blood a 3 out of 5. And you know what? Sylvester Stallone, you still got it, man. Good for you. Anyways, guys, tell me what you thought down in the comment section down below. Did you like Rambo Last Blood? And if you have seen it, where does it stack up with the other movies? I would put it below First Blood, but above every other Rambo sequel. I was impressed with this movie. And if you're new to this channel and you want to see more videos like this, definitely hit like and subscribe. And thank you again for watching. Take care.